James Wiseman is set to make his Detroit Pistons debut in the game tonight against the Boston Celtics. How do you think the Pistons are going to use James Wiseman? How do I think they should use him in his first game with the Pistons? We're going to talk about that in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com. Use promo code Locked On. So I just want to say real quick before we get into today's episode, I really advise all of you guys who did not listen to the last episode to go check that out. We talked with Locked On Warriors host about James Wiseman and his time there and how we should feel about him moving forward. Then we moved directly into the second segment and talked with Locked On Cavs host and asked him how they make it work with two big men that aren't stretch bigs and how the Pistons could try to emulate that and make it work. And then in the final segment, we talked about why Saddiq Bey was indeed traded from the Pistons. It was a fun episode, really insightful stuff. So definitely encourage all of you guys who did not check that episode out yet to definitely go listen to that one before this one. But anyways, by the time you guys listen to this, the Detroit Pistons will have a game tonight against the Boston Celtics at 7:30 in what will be James Wiseman's first game as a Detroit Piston. And what I want to talk about in the opening segment is how I think or how I want Dwayne Casey to use James Wiseman, not only just in this first game against the Celtics, but really for the rest of the year. I understand that they may not be able to use him in all, the type of ways I'd like to see him be used in the first game because first game here, hasn't had a lot of practices. I don't even know how many minutes he'll play. So I can somewhat give it a pass for the first game, but for the rest of the year, I hope they use him the type of way we're about to talk about. But before we get to that play, I do want to say, I said in the last few podcasts that Mark J. Spears of ESPN said that the Pistons were going to start James Wiseman. A few of these reports, CBS Sports, Fox Sports, a lot of these big sites and big places have confirmed those reports, but there seems to be a lot of you guys that are telling me that he did not actually say he would start, that they're kind of changing his words. I can't find exactly where it was he said it. So I don't know if the reporting got aggregated or broken down in ways he didn't mean it. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see if he actually does start. If one of you guys know where you can find exactly what he said, send it to me for sure. Because I can't find the original source of where he said it. But anyways, so James Wiseman, I hope that the Pistons do not use James Wiseman as simply just a guy in the dunker spot. And I honestly think it would be a little bit disrespectful to James Wiseman if they did just use him that way. And I've seen a lot of people, at least initially when the trade was very first made, a lot of people were like, this is just Marvin Bagley over again. I think that's also pretty disrespectful to James Wiseman. I get the whole, number 2 overall pick who didn't work out with the original team. Now he's coming to the Pistons. Like, okay, that's a fair comparison. But like James Wiseman, who knows if he ends up better than Marvin Bagley? Who knows if he becomes a star or anything? But I'll tell you this, James Wiseman is a way better athlete than Marvin Bagley. He is an insane athlete, just a physical specimen. He has a lot more raw talent, I feel like, than Marvin Bagley. He has a way higher ceiling than Marvin Bagley. So I don't really feel like it's fair to compare him and Marvin Bagley and say he's like Marvin Bagley. And to move forward with that comparison, I really wouldn't like it if they just used him like Marvin Bagley, to where you just put him in the dunker spot and have him just get dump offs. I really hope the Pistons get creative. And I know that's something that we've really criticized this coaching staff of not being able to do with this team. Some defenders say it's because it's a young team. What's the need for getting creative with a young team? I don't really think that makes sense. You still should get creative, even if you do have a young team that's not really winning games. So I really hope that, something we haven't seen a lot from them is that they get creative. We see James Wiseman maybe get some post-ups. We see him maybe get a kick out and, asked to attack a closeout. Maybe we even see if they do start him with Jalen Duren, maybe they see there's some things I've been going and watching the Cavs, the way they play. They sometimes run a pick and roll with Evan Mobley at the high post with Jared Allen. Heck, maybe even do that kind of thing with James Wiseman. Just use him in multiple different ways. Don't make it just a simple catch these drop-off passes and just dunk the ball. Because you're trying to – Troy Weaver believes this guy has a high ceiling. Troy Weaver believes he just got a steal. He believes that this guy could be a legitimate star in the future. You're not going to become a legitimate star or learn how to do other things within the offense and develop those other skills by just catching dump-offs. So I really hope they don't just use him that way. I'd like to see him get some threes up, even if he starts missing early. I'd like to see him get some threes up during this rest of this year with the Pistons. I'd like to see him handle the ball a little bit. I'd like to see him be able to get some little face-up game in the post, whether that's face-up jumpers. I saw that some of the film I've watched with James Wiseman, that looks like he has a nice touch from the mid area. Maybe try that. Attack a post-up straight up, drive. I just want to see them use him in so many different ways, just a variety of ways, and just give him, and this is something that Troy Weaver has mentioned, Steve Kerr mentioned, and Bob Myers, GM of the Warriors, mentioned, just give him a runway to really just try stuff and mess up. Don't limit what he can do. Don't try to limit what you want him to do on the floor. Give him, I don't want to say just complete free reign, like you don't want the dude taking like 7 threes a game or anything. Like you don't want him doing anything wild. But I think I think everyone understands when you say give him runway out there. Just let him try some stuff. Let him take some few jumpers. Let him try to run, who knows, like a pick and roll, an inverted pick and roll. Run in some Spain pick and roll. Give him some lob attempts. Give him cutting to the basket. Give him handling the ball in the half court from beyond the arc and see if he can attack a closeout. See if he can drive people to the rim. See if he can make some reads in the short roll. Get him in a pick and roll. See if he can make some reads to the opposite corner. Maybe a drop-off pass if they do play him with Jalen Duren. Maybe put Jalen Duren in the dunker spot. Use James Wiseman as a pick and roll guy. Put him in the short roll and see if he can make that read to a lob pass to Jalen Duren or the opposite corner if the weak side defender is tagging down on Jalen Duren at the block. Just these are all kinds of just random ways. I'm sure there's way more ways that NBA coaches can come up with to use James Wiseman. Those are just some of the quick things I've thought of that, like, man, I really hope that we see the Pistons use them at least try this. Because I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm really excited to see James Wiseman play against the Celtics tonight. I'm really excited to see him play for the rest of the year. But I'm going to be really disappointed if he just gets limited to lob threat, dunker spot kind of guy. And last thing I'll say about it is there's not really any players on this team that should stop him from being able to do that. They don't have any high usage players that should be just, furious if they don't get their touches. Like Jaden Ivey's still going to be running pick and rolls. He's going to run it with him. If Bojan Bogdanovic loses a few touches a game, who cares? He's not important to the future. All these other guys are important to the future. So I don't think there's any guys that should stop him from being able to do that. I don't think you're going to step on any toes if you allow him to go out there and try some stuff. Like I think they will do this because Troy Weaver talked about it a lot in his interview that they want him to go out there and just feel comfortable and play the game and try things. So even if Casey had a different idea, I do think Troy Weaver will be coming down from the top saying, hey, this is how I want you using him. This is how, we want you to give him this kind of freedom to do this, that, and the other. So I do believe we're going to see it. But with what we've seen from this coaching staff, it is a concern for me. It is a little bit, I'm a little hesitant to just assume that we will see it. And I'm a little bit anxious because I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried that they might just put him in the Marvin Bagley role. And I think that would be a major, major mistake by this coaching staff. But we'll see what they decide to do with James Wiseman. I can't wait for his game against the Boston Celtics tonight, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. I feel like Pistons fans really needed just a change of players, see a new face around, and even especially if you bring a former number 2 overall pick is that new face. This team really need an inject of energy from some type of way from the trade deadline. I think Wiseman is going to do that for them the rest of the year. I think all of us are really excited. Can't wait to watch them. Let me know how you guys want the Pistons to use James Wiseman in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, Jaden Ivey, we've talked about him a lot, obviously. But even still, I don't feel like he's getting enough praise. And we're going to bring up some more stats to show just how well he's been playing as of late. Stay tuned for that when we get back. But first, I got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, PrizePicks. So let's go ahead and assume football season's over with now. So let's try a different sport. Let's say you want to take the over in Killian Hayes' assist, and then the over in Jaden Ivey's points. But then you want to go to a different sport. Let's say you want to go to hockey and you want to take the over on someone's goals or assists, or you want to go to, any other sport. You want to take the over on someone's projections. You can do that. And you can put them to the exact same entry with PrizePicks, and that's why PrizePicks is my favorite daily fantasy option out there. You pick 2 to 6 players to see if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, and you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people, it's just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you watch. This includes NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to PrizePicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports today. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100 with PrizePicks. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So with the addition of James Wiseman, obviously the Pistons continue to try to bolster their young core. They continue to try to add to it. They continue to try to unlock some guys, see if they can get the, untap that potential that they have. And they've just been trying to get as many guys, it feels like, as possible, hoping that one of them just breaks through. And one of the guys I feel like you might be witnessing, that we might be witnessing break through right before our eyes, is Jaden Ivey. And I love seeing this. Look, I know there's some Jaden Ivey stands out there for sure. There are some legit Jaden Ivey stands, but I think I might be enjoying this just as much as anybody else from this perspective, and this is why. If you guys remember the very beginning of the year, or maybe a little bit after Cade got hurt, you guys remember I had some questions about the way Jaden Ivey was playing, the process in which he was playing. Oh, by the way, it was his birthday yesterday, so happy birthday to Jaden Ivey. He is 21 years old. But I had some questions about the way he was playing, the process in which he was taking in some of the ways he was going about playing the game, some of the shots he was taking, and then obviously the defensive concerns. So you guys remember at the beginning of the year, it wasn't like I was out on Jaden Ivey or anything, but you guys will probably remember that I had some concerns, and I was probably, I'm just gonna be honest, I probably was not at that point as high on Jaden Ivey as a lot of other Pistons fans were. And I am happy to see that the concerns that I had at the beginning of the year, I'm so happy to be able to watch his progression as a rookie, as a 21-year-old, from his game one to where he's at now. It's seriously, guys, it's like watching this a steady grow. There hasn't been a lot of, you want me to be honest, obviously there hasn't been just, every game hasn't just been a great game, but I seriously feel like from game one to now, it has been just a steady increase. It hasn't been a go up and then a big down and then up and then a big down. I feel like it's just been a steady increase the entire season through 54 games for Jaden Ivey. You've seen him improve in so many areas already in his rookie year. And one stat that was tweeted at me today, and it made me want to spend another segment talking about Jaden Ivey, is this one right here. And it's honestly crazy to think about. So this was tweeted at me. It's from the account NBA University. They're a really good NBA account on Twitter. If you guys are on Twitter, you guys want some NBA stats, some analysis, whatever, I definitely encourage you to follow them. It's great stuff. But they tweeted out, Jaden Ivey has hit 41.4% of his pull-up threes over the last 15 games. I want you guys to think about that. Over his last 15 games, Jaden Ivey has been a legit pull-up three-point shooter. A legit one. Really good. 41% is legit, guys. And the craziest thing to me is, when seeing this, is the fact that at the beginning of the year and in the offseason, we didn't think that this would be a strength of his at all. We thought this would be something that he would struggle with. And at the beginning of the year, it was something. But it's just another one of those areas that we've watched him improve on throughout the entire season. And We've pointed this out on the podcast multiple times, but I think it goes along with his pull-up three-point shooting. It's his mid-range game. If you look at the way he was shooting the ball at the beginning of the year, not just on pull-up middies, but on pull-up threes, step-back threes, anything that wasn't a layup or a dunk, he was all over the place. His lower body was all over the place. It wasn't compact. It wasn't under control. He was constantly just flying all over the place. Way too explosive. Like, you love the fact that he's explosive and athletic, but in his pull-up shots, he was way too explosive in the wrong way at the beginning of the year. But not only have you seen that improve in his mid-range shooting, where his mid-range shot looks so much more compact, so much more under control. When he jumps, he's landing in the exact same spot he's shooting from or started his jump from. So much more under control. It's the exact same thing with his pull-up three-point shot. And another stat that I want to bring up that is just going to show just how high of a ceiling this dude has. Now, do I think that he's going to regularly be a 40% pull-up three-point shooter for the rest of the year? No, that's going to fall down a little bit. It's going to fall back down to what's real. But what is real? Is it down to 33%? Or is it down to like 37, 38%? Either way, he's showing that there may be reason to believe he can be a pull-up three-point shooter, at least in the last 15 games. Now, you want to see a longer sample size, nonetheless, obviously. But this stat right here shows just how high of the ceiling this dude really has. Over his last 15 games, not only has he been a fantastic pull-up three-point shooter, but he's been exceptional on the court overall. He's averaging 15 points a game, 6 assists. He's shooting 43% from the field, 36% from deep, and we've seen him get better playmaking-wise, and this is happening while he's objectively one of the worst finishers in the entire NBA. On layups around the rim, he is in the 15th percentile according to Synergy. So he's been an efficient shooter. He's averaging around 15, 16 points a game on decent efficiency. Not like he's not blowing the waters out, with efficiency, but he's been relatively okay as a rookie. 43% from the field, 36% from deep. You'd like to see him get higher from the free throw line, but he's been decent. He's been straight. And what everyone thought was going to be his strength has actually been his biggest weakness so far, and that's finishing around the basket. So if you still believe that's going to be his strength in the NBA, which I think all of us do, all of us think that finishing is going to come around. He's way too explosive, and he gets to the rim way too easy, and he gets too high around the rim. Like, his finishing is going to get better as the season goes on and as he plays next year, year after that, etc. I expect him to be a pretty damn good finisher. He gets to the rim way too much for him not to be. So just imagine, picture in your head, if let's just say he doesn't even become a great one. Let's just say he goes from 15th percentile to like 50th percentile. And he maintains this shooting to go along with it and his explosiveness to constantly crash the defense inside by his ability to get to the lane, and then his improved playmaking ability that we're seeing for him to kick out. Where's his ceiling? Where did his ceiling stop? Actually, that's the real question. When does he hit his head on the ceiling? And I don't know. I don't know where he hits his head on his ceiling. Now, I think the one thing that could stop his ceiling is defense. He 100% has to get better defensively. I think a lot of his issues are not just rookie defense concerns. He was a really bad defender in college. He's been a really bad defender in the NBA. That's the one area I still have heavy concerns about that he's going to have to get better at. But offensively, man, we've seen him grow. We've seen him become a better shooter. We've seen him become a better point guard. We've seen him become a better playmaker. We've seen him make more complex reads than just simple to dump off. We've seen him make cross-court passes. We've seen him drive with intent, knowing that if he's going to get the weak side defender to tag down, and he's already ready to hit that cross-court pass. We've seen him grow as a player awareness-wise offensively. I don't know where this dude's ceiling is offensively, and Pistons fans should really be excited for Jaden Ivey to watch him for the years to come. And me personally, again, as someone who just wasn't as high on him based on what I saw at the beginning of the year, to be able to see those concerns I had slowly, but surely go away and really become strengths as the year has gone on has been absolutely fascinating and a joy to watch a young player do. I don't know if the Pistons have had a young player have that kind of thing happen throughout a season. Usually, not that the Pistons haven't seen a young guy get better over the years, But who's the last guy? I mean, maybe, I guess you could say Cade, but Cade, I don't really count Cade last year because he was dealing with the injury at the beginning of the year. That's the only reason why I don't feel like he started out fast. Wasn't because he struggled with stuff. I just feel like he was dealing with injury. So I don't really count Cade. Outside of that, who's another guy we saw him struggle with stuff at the beginning of the year, and then by game 50, those things seemingly have become a pretty good strength of his at that point of the year, and we've watched him grow that quickly? I can't think of one. And it's been a joy to watch it happen, man. Been a joy to watch it happen. And I don't know where Jaden Ivey's ceiling is, and that's a great thing for the Pistons because they need somebody, whether it's this upcoming pick in the draft or someone on the roster, to break through and try to be on the same tier level as Cade Cunningham when it comes to importance to this organization and importance on a championship team when the Pistons eventually get there. Maybe it's Jaden Ivey. Maybe he's showing this in real time that it could be him. That it could indeed be him. So let me know what you guys think about what you've seen from Jaden Ivey recently over the past month or so in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, I want to talk with you guys again just a little bit more about James Wiseman and some other things I'm really looking forward to seeing from the Pistons in James Wiseman's first game with the Pistons. We'll talk a little bit more about that kind of stuff when we come back. But first, I got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, Built Bar. Looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all the fat and calories? Then you got to try a Built Bar. We've just got through the holidays. I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. If you're like me, you want to eat healthier, but don't want to compromise taste, then man, I got the thing for you. You got to try Built Bar. With Built Bar, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious, you won't think they're good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolution. And what makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they are healthy for you. Only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar with a whopping of 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built Bars at Built.com. But now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run in, grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later. Again, Built Bars, best protein bar out there. You don't need to just get them at Built.com anymore. You can get them at Walmart or Sam's Club. Make sure you're trying the best tasting protein bar out there. That is Built Bar. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So I know I said I wanted to talk about some other things I want to see from James Wiseman and the Pistons in this game, but real quick first, I want to say this. I feel like Pistons fans should feel really, at this point, before seeing James Wiseman even play a game, before even seeing him play a game in a Pistons jersey, a lot of Pistons fans should feel confident that this was a good move by Troy Weaver, and they should feel, now it doesn't guarantee anything, but they should feel good. And this is why I say that. I say that because we just got done talking with the Locked On Warriors host last episode. I've had probably hundreds of Golden State Warriors fans comment on the videos, tweet me, DM me, probably north of hundreds of them. We've seen the Warriors community talk about them. We've seen players from the Warriors talk about them. We've seen the coaching staff from the Warriors talk about them. We've seen the front office from the Warriors talk about them. And you can say from the front office point of view or the coaching staff's point of view, you could say it's just trying to do good PR, which I would buy a little bit more if everyone in the Warriors community, basically all the fans I've seen, basically all the Warriors writers that I've read, Locked On Warriors hosts, if all of them didn't echo the exact same sentiment, and I haven't seen any of them echo the sentiment of James Wiseman isn't talented, James Wiseman won't be a good player, James Wiseman can't become a good player, James Wiseman's a bust. I haven't seen them. I'm not joking. I haven't seen basically anyone say anything really negative about James Wiseman from the Warriors community. I've heard the exact same thing over and over from all of them, from the front office of the Warriors to the the ownership, to the coaching staff, to heck Draymond and Steph Curry, to their fans, beat writers, all of them say the same thing. And it's that this dude is supremely talented, but he needs to get reps and allowed to play through mistakes. And he can't do that on a championship team where each game matters so much. We can't waste away a game. We can't waste away a quarter. We can't waste away 5 minutes in the game to try to let you get reps and play through mistakes, because each minute matters on a contending team. But in Detroit, he should succeed. And almost all of them have said they expect him to. They expect him to eventually become a good basketball player, a really good one. For the Detroit Pistons, they just don't believe it could have happened in Golden State. And that right there should have Pistons fans feeling really happy or confident at this point about what he'll look like for the Pistons moving forward. Because, oops, sorry about that for those of you guys watching on YouTube. You should feel really confident about that, because again, there's no one really saying that he's a bust or that he can't be good. And then the last thing I'll say before I say one other thing that I want to see from the Pistons in this game is Troy Weaver said something in an interview over this past week that I think is so important that I should have led off the podcast with this. I'm not going to lie. It's so important for fans to understand this. I thought he said so many bars over the past week, but this is just another bar from him. He said basically, the Pistons don't have the luxury. They don't have the assets. They just don't have the luxury to get stars when they're already stars. They don't have the luxury to get great players when they're already great players. What they have to do is go get players that they think will be great before they become great. Because once they become great, now they're out their price range. They can't trade for them because they don't got the assets. They're not going to sign with the Pistons with cap space over another intriguing destination or a contending team. Like, the Pistons don't have the luxury to do that. They have to go find guys that they believe are going to become stars before they actually become them. And maybe when teams are down on them, when opposing teams are down on them and their price is low, but the Pistons think they can turn them into something, those are the players the Pistons have to go get and turn into something. And I saw one of you guys comment, and this was a really good point. That's basically how the 2004 Pistons championship team was made of. Now, you had a few guys that obviously weren't just, lottery tickets. I mean, Rip was pretty proven, I feel like, before he came to the Pistons. I feel like Sheed was probably a little bit more proven as well, even though he was a hothead, whatever. His talent was pretty proven. But Chauncey, Ben, like, the two main pieces of that team, I would say, were lottery tickets, basically. Those are guys who weren't proven beforehand. You have to go get them before they're proven and hope you can develop them and turn them into that. So the fact that Troy Weaver said that, I thought it was the most perfect quote, and it's 100% right. The Pistons couldn't wait for James Wiseman to become an 18-10 guy, then be like, okay, now we want him, because now you can't get him. But right now his value is low because of what, the limited sample size we've seen from him on a team that just didn't fit, of all kinds of circumstances that explain why his first 3 years just haven't went well. A guy with still untapped potential like he has. These are the type of players the Pistons have to go after. And not all of them are going to hit. He's going to miss on some. Troy Weaver will miss on some. He's not going to bat 1,000. But is it 1,000? I'm not a baseball guy. Is it 1,000 or 100? I'm pretty sure it's 1,000. I played MLB The Show a little bit. I think it's 1,000. But I may be off with that comparison to MLB. But you guys get what I'm saying. He's not going to shoot 100% from the field. He's going to miss some. But the hope is that he eventually hits on one, maybe two, and they become something. So that's something I think that a lot of Pistons fans have to realize, because I know when they first made the trade, a lot of them were like, oh my God, he's a bust. Why'd we just trade Saddiq Bey for him? And again, you just have to go back to what Troy Weaver said. The Pistons don't have the luxury of trading Saddiq Bey for a proven all-star. He doesn't have that type of value. No one on this team does. Outside Cade, Ivey, and Duren, you don't want to give it to those guys. So how else can you build around them? How else can you get great players around them? You can take chances on guys and try to develop them, the ones with high potential, or you can spend money. They got the untapped potential guy they want to develop. They have a lot of money in the offseason. Let's see what they do with that money in the offseason. So that's just something I wanted to let you guys know of. And to wrap up the podcast, the last thing I was going to say that I want to see from them in this game is 100%. I want to see Jalen Duren and James Wiseman share the floor in this game against the Celtics, at least for a little bit. It doesn't have to be for a long stretch. It doesn't have to be for the entire quarter, but definitely at least for some minutes. I'd love to see those two guys together and see what the coaching staff actually has in plan for those two guys when on the court. or if they're just going to be out there with no plan at all and it looks just discombobulated. I'm really interested in that. But that's all I've got for you guys today, man. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe. Go Pistons. I'm super excited for this game tonight. I hope you guys are as well. But until the next podcast, I'll see you guys later. Peace out, everybody.